And welcome back to Lady Jane Books. Today I'm doing a review of The Thing in the Woods by Matthew Quinn. Today I have a very exciting video. This is my very first author request review video. I'm so excited for it. I had actually heard of Matthew Quinn's work through John over at Books of Blood, and I had commented on John's video. The book he reviewed sounded really interesting, so I decided to go and look at some other Matthew Quinn books on my Kindle. And that's where I saw his book, The Thing in the Woods, and I bought it. A few days later, I logged into my Twitter account, which will be linked in the description below, and I saw that Matthew Quinn actually tweeted me asking if I wanted to review The Thing in the Woods. I mean, if that wasn't fate, I don't know what is. I really don't. Being so excited because it is one of my dreams to review a book for an author, I immediately said yes. Now, I have purchased this book with my own money. I'm not being paid in any way, definitely not. I'm not getting compensated in any other way for this review. So this is definitely going to be an honest review, as it would be anyway, but I just wanted to make sure that's clear. So thank you so much, Matthew Quinn, for reaching out to me. I'm so excited to do this review. So let's get started. Today, I'm reviewing The Thing in the Woods by Matthew W. Quinn. I believe this book was published in May of 2017, and it is a horror novel with a little bit of a sci-fi flavor. I purchased it on my Kindle, and it's about 190 pages. This will be a spoiler-free review. I rated The Thing in the Woods by Matthew Quinn 3.5 stars. James Daly has just moved to a small town in rural Georgia. After being forced to move, James finds himself very resentful of his living situation. Supporting the family mortgage through his Best Buy wages, having his father be out of work, and James's non-existent social life are just a few of the things that make him a little bit resentful. But when one of the locals challenges him to an ATV race, James begins to realize how horrifying living in this small town truly can be. The Thing in the Woods by Matthew Quinn has a lot to it. There's abductions, sadistic rituals, cults, blood, gore. And then we start chapter 1. Yes, all of that was just in the prologue in the first few pages. The Thing in the Woods by Matthew Quinn is described as a type of Lovecraftian horror novel. And I totally saw that within the very first couple of pages. This is a very interesting book. It is a shorter novel at about 192 pages, I believe. So I don't want to say too much about it and give it away, but there is a lot to the story. It certainly does have a Lovecraftian creature feature, almost like a folklore type of story, and I really liked that. I really enjoyed the setting. I think Matthew writes a small town with a lot of secrets very well. I was really intrigued about what's going on very early in the book, so that was very well done. A small town with secrets is always intriguing to Lady Jane books. There is also a lot of gore in this book, and I loved it. Matthew Quinn did such a great job writing the really gory parts and kind of the violent. It gives you a big shock. Some of it is very gut-wrenching, and I loved reading about it because it gave me an emotional reaction of fear. So the descriptions of the gore were pretty great. I also really enjoyed the dialogue between the residents. Matthew Quinn did this really cool thing where he was definitely showing you the dynamics rather than just telling you about them, and that really came through in the conversations that the residents were having. I really liked that. It showed a lot of the politics and the behind the scenes. Loved that. One thing that I really enjoyed about this book was that the author did something very creative. He actually gave consciousness to the creature, and so instead of just being around the creature and talking about everybody's reaction to him, he was actually in the creature's mind, and we got to see his thoughts and feelings and emotions, I think you could even call them. That was so cool. I have never read anything like that. I think that was pretty brilliant. The only drawback was that I wish there were a few more paragraphs about it because I just loved it so much. I definitely wanted more of that. That was intriguing and it was pretty brilliant. While this was a very interesting book, there were one or two things that were small drawbacks for me. The first is that at the very beginning of the book, there is some derogatory language. I wasn't expecting that. I just want to warn potential readers about that it took me by surprise, so fair warning. So I just want to warn my viewers about that. The second small drawback was that one or two scenes seemed a little slow. Now, overall, this is a very fast-paced book. It's very quick to read, but there were one or two scenes that I know were supposed to be really action-packed, but I found myself skimming because there was just a little bit too much detail in them. I found myself skimming through parts of the books thinking, oh, we're still on this scene, we haven't moved past it yet. And the only reason I noticed this is because the majority of the book is very fast-paced. So when it started to slow down a little bit, it was pretty noticeable. I personally think some of those scenes could have been cut down a little bit. I think taking a little bit out of those scenes and putting a little bit more into maybe the consciousness of the creature or the politics of the town would take this book from great to excellent. Overall, The Thing in the Woods by Matthew Quinn is a pretty good Lovecraftian creature feature horror book. It was a very quick read. I read it in about a day and a half, and being a slow reader, that is quite the accomplishment. And it kept me really, really engaged from the very beginning to the very last page. I personally think that The Thing in the Woods would be an amazing summer read. I picture myself reading this on a very warm summer's day, sitting on my porch with iced tea in my hand and wanting to read a really quick, really engaging horror book. That's where I see this book. I think it'll be perfect for a lazy summer evening where you want to read something really quick and really engaging. The Thing in the Woods is going to be that book. Now, The Thing in the Woods does have a little bit of a cliffhanger situation, and I found out that it is actually part of a series. The series is called The Long War series by Matthew Quinn, and the sequel is called The Atlanta Incursion. And I think I'm intrigued enough by that cliffhanger to actually pick up the sequel. So this summer, if you're in the mood for a quick, gory, creature feature horror book, you have to pick up The Thing in the Woods by Matthew Quinn. Thank you once again to Matthew Quinn who requested this review. I was so excited to read your work and for being my very first author review request. Thank you again. And that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is my very first author request review video. I had actually heard of Matthew Quinn's work through John over at Books of Blood? Books of Blood chain? Okay. I had actually heard of Matthew's work at John of Books of Blood's channel. The sun's coming out, I'm gonna burn. And I had commented on John's video. And I saw his, and that's where I saw his novel. This book has a lot. It has blood. I particularly enjoyed he does the descriptions of the gore very, very well. They're very complete, they're very well-rounded. Well-rounded? I'm leaning this way because the sun's in my eyes. Ugh. Ugh. Try not to squint so I'm in the corner here. So this summer, if you're looking for a gory... Are you looking for a gory? Oh goodness, Jane. Are you looking for some gore this summer?